by Gillette, the best a man can get.
Back here, first things first, look who's here. Sports Illustrated senior writer Chris Mannix.
Jenna,
Haven't seen you in a while.
You?
Yeah, but don't worry, I unshushed him by talking.
Not Mannix, I did.
No, Nick. Nick tries to shush me every day.
I wouldn't dare.
No, don't shush me. I'll unshush you.
Yes.
Okay, well, I won't shush you again the rest of the show. And three times while we're coming back from commercial break, this is what the audience will hear. And then
I tell lengthy stories in the commercial break.
I mean, Chris is in the hallway, though, like right before the show.
Thank you, but Nick would never mention that. But of course, a long story. Anyway.
I'm so jealous of your hair and the cut.
Your hair does look
You guys actually have similar haircuts now. It is great to have you, Mannix.
There we go.
Let's talk some finals. The Raptors took a 2-1 series lead after beating a depleted Warriors team last night. Klay Thompson, as predicted, did not play. He was missed on both sides of the ball. Kawhi Leonard led the way for the Raptors with 30 points, and all of Toronto's starters scored at least 17. Big momentum shift for Toronto now. Here's Kyle Lowry after the game.
You lose an all-NBA type basketball player in Klay and an all-star. It definitely, it changes their team. But, I mean, Steph had an unbelievable game. 47 points is pretty impressive. But, we just went out there and did our job. And, I think we held them under 40% shooting. We played well. We finished the game, and we found a way to win the basketball game.
Mannix, was Game 3 more about what the Raptors did well, or was it just Steph having no help, essentially?
I don't want to take anything away from what Toronto did in the fourth quarter of that game, because there were moments where it looked like Golden State had opportunities to seize control and win that game. And every time Golden State inched closer, I think it was like 7, 8 points here or there.
They never got closer than 7.
Never. And because the Raptors had an answer. And it wasn't just Kawhi taking over. It was Serge Ibaka coming up with either a block on one end or a mid-range jumper on the other. It was Fred VanVleet taking pretty high degree of difficulty shots. I mean, we can talk about Klay being missing on defense, but these were not open shots that the Raptors were making. Kawhi made them. I thought Kyle Lowry had a terrific game when there's always so much pressure on him to be great on both ends of the floor. So it's certainly, the injuries were a factor, but Toronto's ability to answer every surge that Golden State had, I think, was the overriding one.
And in that fourth quarter, in the stretch you're talking about, was the only time all game they got their arms around Steph. Steph hit his final shot. Final made basket was with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So, they were able to, whenever the Warriors were getting close, make sure whoever takes the shot to get it closer is not going to be Steph Curry, or if it is him, he's not going to have a good look. But there was a different moment that I thought the Warriors, earlier than that, it was kind of, I think, missed. I don't want to say missed in the broadcast, but I thought it was an enormous sequence in the game. Beginning third quarter, when we know the Warriors have historically gone on these runs, Boogie gets a steal and is going up the court, and he has a layup attempt, and he misses the layup. And then going back the other, you'll see it right here. Here, Boogie got the steal, passed it, he then misses. Next time on this play down the court, so it could have been 5, now it's 7, now it's 10.
Those are daggers.
Those are daggers. Yeah. When you could have cut it to 5, the closest you would have been since early second quarter. That's the middle of the third. The crowd was in full throat, and now it's like, wait, we have a 5-point. Now it's a 10-point game. Those are emotionally crushing plays, and Toronto had a bunch of those throughout the game when the Warriors got close, and they just kept them just past arm's length.
Yeah, you got to give the Raptors coaching staff and Nick Nurse credit too, because at halftime everybody's ready for the third quarter Warriors. Some people say that's the 31st team in the NBA. Yeah. They're that good. So in this, we know that, man, Toronto, they've been beating the Warriors first, second quarter, and the fourth quarter. They've been getting walloped in the third quarter. He decides to start VanVleet in the third quarter. Now listen, Danny Green in the first quarter played sensational. He wasn't bad in the second quarter, but to take out a veteran in the third quarter and say, I'm going to start him in game 3 on the road, and that veteran be able to handle it, and that locker room be able to handle it. It's not a panic move, but it is our strategy. We believe in our coach, and it transferred. VanVleet played 12 minutes, and Danny Green only played half the time he played, but he chipped in 9 big points there. So for me, you got to give credit all the way around. And that coaching staff, I thought that was a tremendous move.
And to that point, one of the reasons that the Raptors made the coaching change and then went with Nick Nurse is because Nick Nurse Nurse is not afraid to do stuff like that and thinks more outside the box. Dwayne Casey's an excellent coach, won Coach of the Year last year, but Dwayne Casey oftentimes was wed to lineups. He would play two bigs no matter what. Didn't make a lot of changes on the fly. Nick Nurse, as we've seen with that box and one, as we saw with the change in the lineup, he's not afraid to be a little unorthodox.
Now, Mannix, does that come from his coaching history? Very unorthodox, playing in the D-League. When you're playing, you don't know what your lineup's going to be. He said he's gone through what the Warriors are going through, not knowing who to play. That is the life when you're in the G League and everything. Do you think that's led to him being an excellent X and O guy for the Raptors?
I think that's a big part of it, having to think outside the box, having to be a little bit unorthodox, and having to not be sure what your rotation is. He doesn't have a lot of NBA head coaching experience, but Nick Nurse has a lot of coaching experience, period.
So, Nick, you said something really interesting earlier. The Raptors couldn't win this series last night, but they certainly could have lost it. Had Klay Thompson played and given you anything, really, and then the Raptors lost, that would have been a devastating blow.
Well, or particularly had it been like last night where Klay doesn't play.
Or doesn't play,
lose, that would have been a heart punch.
Well, where do you think the Warriors miss Klay more, on offense or on defense?
Oh, I think offense. I mean, defense, look, it's like I said, I think as a team, the Warriors did not play well defensively, but some of those shots the Raptors made in the fourth quarter, I don't think they were necessarily due to horrible defense. At least not defense I think Klay Thompson would have helped with. Offensively, I mean, you had Steph running around, 31 shots, just trying to manufacture comebacks almost on his own. Draymond Green wasn't anywhere near as effective as he could have been. The supporting cast in general wasn't as effective. And you heard the players after the game talk about it. When Klay is out there on the floor, there's a body on him at all times. And when you don't have to put a body on Quinn Cook or Sean Livingston or Andre Iguodala, it changes how you look offensively.
And they had several guys that they allowed to shoot. Draymond to start the game. All right, Klay's not on the court. It's all right. They're still going to be good. They give Draymond a three-pointer. He shoots an air ball. Boogie Cousins, they dare him to shoot one. He shoots an air ball. So not only his presence on the court, but the mentality and do I want to shoot this as the game goes on? And you could start to see the Warriors, as the game went on, they start getting the ball, giving the ball back to Steph because they didn't have the type of confidence. And in those spots, you need someone like that. Klay could have been 0 for 20. But in the fourth quarter, he would have been swearing up and down. The next one's going to go in. And they didn't have that type of confidence that Klay always has.
The non-Steph Warriors, 6 of 22 from 3. And the other place not having Klay out there hurt enormously on the offensive end is what's Draymond's best skill as an offensive player? His playmaking, his passing. Got to have somebody to pass to. And so, like, Draymond would get the ball, and some of his impact was muted because, okay, Steph's not there. Wait, Klay's not even playing. Am I going to give it to Bogut, who got minutes and looked as slow as I think a lot of people expected him to be? With that said, I thought Klay's impact not being out there defensively was enormous because what they had done in Game 2, which I think was really sharp by the Warriors, was they had Klay guarding Kawhi, and so Draymond could play more of a free safety. Which was different than in Game number 1. Exactly right. So I was stumbling there, but thank you. So Draymond could play more of the free safety role. With Klay not out there, Draymond's got to guard Kawhi, so he can't get to the paint. He can't get to the loose balls as much. So you saw Klay's absence have a trickle-down effect on Draymond in both ways, on both ends of the court, and they needed Draymond to be the second-best player last night. He wasn't able to do it.
And with DeMarcus Cousins, this is more likely what you're going to get than the one we saw in Game 2. You've got two guys in Ibaka and Gasol who are sharpened edges at this point. They are ready for an NBA Finals. You simply can't throw a player into this atmosphere and expect him to be the guy he was in Game 2 consistently.
All right, Chris, stick around. Coming up, should the Warriors rush KD back after losing Game 3? That's next on First Things First.
You see that? When you're stumbling and everything, that's